Imagine, if you will, the luxurious Orient Express hurtling through the European countryside. This is not just any train, but an epitome of elegance and grandeur, a symbol of a bygone era that still resonates with allure and mystery. Aboard this magnificent vessel are passengers from all walks of life, each with their own stories to tell. Among this eclectic mix is one man whose keen eyes miss nothing. Meet Detective James, a renowned sleuth known for his razor-sharp mind and uncanny observation skills. As the Orient Express chugs along, he scans his fellow passengers, taking in the tableau of humanity traveling with him. There's the wealthy businessman, Mr. Smith, his demeanor as polished as his shiny cufflinks. Beside him his wife, Mrs. Smith, a picture of elegance and poise. Across from them, the famous actress Miss Monroe, her face buried in a book, oblivious to the world around her. And then there's the man in the back, his hat pulled low, his trench coat a shield against prying eyes. A man of mystery in a train full of stories. As the day wanes and the European countryside gives way to the encroaching twilight, a sense of anticipation fills the air. The train conductor's voice crackles over the intercom, announcing dinner in the opulent dining car. It's an invitation to a feast, a chance for the passengers to mingle, to share stories, to let down their guards. Detective James rises from his seat, his curiosity piqued. He senses an undercurrent of tension beneath the jovial atmosphere. Is it just the natural unease of strangers sharing a journey? Or is there more than meets the eye? He decides to join the others, his keen observer's eye ever watchful, his detective's instincts on high alert. As the evening fell, the train conductor announced dinner, and Detective James made his way to the dining car, sensing an undercurrent of tension among the passengers. Little did he know, this luxurious journey was about to take an unexpected turn, testing his abilities like never before. Just as Detective James was about to retire for the night, a blood-curdling scream pierced the tranquility of the journey. The peaceful hum of the Orient Express was shattered, replaced by a symphony of shock and confusion. Passengers emerged from their compartments, their faces etched with fear and curiosity. In the heart of this chaos, Detective James remained calm, his keen mind already processing the situation. He followed the crowd to a compartment door, behind which lay the source of the commotion. As the door creaked open, a chilling sight greeted them. Mr. Johnson, a fellow passenger, lay lifeless on the floor, a dagger plunged deep into his chest. The luxurious train had transformed into a crime scene. The passengers recoiled in shock, their faces pale and eyes wide. The jovial atmosphere from the dining car earlier seemed a distant memory. How could such a heinous crime occur on a moving train? Who among them could be capable of such an act? The questions hung heavy in the air, unanswered. Without missing a beat, Detective James sprung into action. He secured the crime scene, preserving any potential evidence. He began interviewing the passengers, searching for any inconsistencies in their stories. Each passenger had an alibi, yet none could fully account for their whereabouts at the time of the murder. The only tangible clue was a torn piece of fabric, clutched tightly in the victim's hand. It was a peculiar piece of evidence, seemingly out of place in this gruesome scene. Detective James studied it closely, his sharp eyes scanning every thread. Then, a sudden realization hit him. The fabric wasn't just any ordinary fabric. It matched the lining of a trench coat worn by a mysterious man on the train. The same man who had kept to himself during the journey, casting furtive glances around. A chill ran down Detective James's spine as the pieces began to fall into place. As Detective James examined the fabric, a sudden realization hit him. It matched the lining of the mysterious man's trench coat. The plot was thickening, and the journey on the Orient Express had just taken a shocking turn. Detective James confronted the man with the trench coat, only to discover a surprising revelation. The man was not just a mysterious passenger, but an undercover police officer, deep in the throes of investigating a smuggling operation aboard the Orient Express. This wasn't just any operation, but a sophisticated ring that had been using the luxurious train as a cover for their illicit activities. The man's steely eyes and grim determination painted a picture of a seasoned officer, one who had been on this case for quite some time. As the officer peeled back the layers of secrecy, he revealed that the deceased, Mr. Johnson, was not just a random victim, but a fellow undercover agent. They had been working together, trying to expose and dismantle the smuggling ring. The stakes were high, and the danger was real. This was no longer just a murder mystery but a story of intrigue and deceit. The dagger that had ended Mr. Johnson's life was not just a weapon of convenience, but a signature weapon of the smuggling ring's enigmatic leader. This leader, the officer explained, was a chameleon, blending in seamlessly with the other passengers aboard the train. The true identity of this person remained a mystery, but the officer was certain that he or she was among them. Detective James took a moment to absorb the information. His keen mind began to connect the dots, and he realized the significance of the torn piece of fabric clutched in Mr. Johnson's hand. It wasn't just a random piece of evidence but a vital clue left by Mr. Johnson himself. The fabric matched the lining of the undercover officer's trench coat. It seemed Mr. Johnson had managed to tear it off during a scuffle with his attacker. This was his final act, a desperate attempt to leave a clue that would lead the police to the smuggler. With this new piece of the puzzle, the events of the night started to fall into place for Detective James. The smuggling ring had discovered Mr. Johnson's true identity and had taken drastic measures to protect their operation. The tension he had sensed among the passengers was not just social discomfort, but a dangerous undercurrent of criminal activity. Now, Detective James had a clear goal. He had to identify the leader of the smuggling ring and bring them to justice. With a new sense of purpose, he returned to the crime scene, ready to examine it with fresh eyes. The Orient Express had become a battleground of wits, and Detective James was determined to emerge victorious. Unraveling the mystery was not just about finding a killer but about exposing a criminal operation. The stakes were high, but Detective James was ready. He had a train full of suspects, a handful of clues, and a sharp mind that had solved countless mysteries before. The game was afoot and there was no turning back. Armed with his new findings, Detective James was ready to confront the real killer. The atmosphere in the carriage was thick with tension as Detective James stood before the passengers. His eyes locked onto the smuggler, a man they'd all shared pleasantries with over dinner. The revelation was shocking, but the detective's determined gaze didn't waver. He began to weave the tale of the night's events, every detail falling into place like puzzle pieces. The smuggler's eyes flickered with unease as James revealed his true identity, the murder of Mr. Johnson, and the smuggling operation on the Orient Express. And then, the chase was on. The smuggler, realizing his game was up, made a dash for the exit. Detective James was on his heels, adrenaline pumping through his veins. The narrow corridors of the train were a blur as they sprinted, the echo of their footsteps drowned by the thunderous chug of the train. But the Orient Express, a marvel of luxury and engineering, was a fortress on wheels. The smuggler found every exit blocked, every escape route cut off. Detective James was relentless, his sharp mind as quick as his feet. Cornered, the smuggler had no choice but to surrender. With the culprit apprehended, Detective James could finally breathe a sigh of relief. The passengers watched in awe as he handcuffed the smuggler, the authority in his voice sending chills down their spines. The smuggling ring, once an invisible threat aboard the Orient Express, was dismantled, its leader now in custody. Detective James, the renowned sleuth, had done it again. His keen observation skills and sharp mind had saved the day, turning a luxurious journey into a thrilling adventure. The passengers could only marvel at his skill and determination, their journey now forever etched in their memories. But for Detective James, it was all in a day's work. His relentless pursuit of truth, his unwavering dedication to justice had triumphed once again. The case of the murder on the Orient Express was closed. With the smuggler apprehended and the smuggling ring dismantled, the passengers could finally breathe a sigh of relief. As the Orient Express continued on its journey, Detective James could finally rest. He had managed to unwind a complex web of deception, treachery, and murder, right on the moving train. With a keen eye for detail, and a mind as sharp as a razor, he had pieced together the puzzle. The torn fabric, the dagger, the undercover police officer. Each piece had found its place in the jigsaw, leading to the unmasking of the smuggling ring's leader. Detective James's determination had been unwavering. The chase through the train, the confrontation, the capture, he had navigated through it all with the calm of a seasoned professional. His relentless pursuit of truth had brought justice to Mr. Johnson and ensured the safety of the other passengers. His work was a testament to his skill, his courage, and his commitment to his duty. The case of the murder on the Orient Express was closed, all thanks to the brilliant detective work of Detective James.